We have all been there, right? That moment when a simple disagreement just spirals. It gets tense, it gets frustrating, and pretty soon, the whole conversation just grinds to a halt. It feels totally stuck. But what if I told you there was a simple technique, a tool, that could not only help you survive those conversations, but actually turn them into moments of real understanding? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. And this just hits home, doesn't it? The second things get heated, the one thing we need the most to solve the problem, actually talking to each other, is the very first thing to go out the window. It's an incredibly human and incredibly frustrating experience. And yeah, this is exactly what that breakdown looks like. We just shut down. We stop trying to see it from their side. Instead, we're just reloading, right? Just waiting for our turn to talk, to make our point again. And that bridge of communication, it just collapses. The conversation is, for all intents and purposes, over. I know, it sounds a little too simple to be true, doesn't it? But what if you really did have a tool, a mental model you could pull out right in the heat of the moment to get things going again? A tool that's as easy to remember as, say, a triangle. Well, here it is. It's called the listening triangle. It's a really straightforward model that's designed to do one thing: get those stuck conversations moving again. It's all about creating a new kind of communication loop, one that actually builds understanding instead of just tearing it all down. And this is it. That's the entire framework. Just 3 simple steps that make up the points of the triangle. You ask, you listen, and then you reflect. That's the whole shebang. It's a cycle, you see. A continuous loop designed to change the whole dynamic from a fight into a collaboration. Okay, now this is where the magic really happens. The true power of the listening triangle is that it helps you kind of time travel. See, most arguments are stuck in the past, right? We just go over and over the same old problems. This model forces the conversation into the present to figure out what people really need right now. And from there, it guides you into the future to build an agreement that actually works. So let's dive into that first point of our triangle. Ask. It seems so obvious, doesn't it? But here's the thing. The kind of question you ask changes everything. Think of it like a key. The wrong question locks the door, but the right one can swing it wide open. And you can see the difference so clearly here. On one side, you've got your closed questions. Things like, did you do that? They're good for a quick yes or no, but man, they kill a conversation fast. But on the other side, you've got open-ended questions. These are basically invitations. They start with words like what, how, or why, and they genuinely invite the other person to tell you what's really going on. And just look at these examples. These are gold. They're not accusations, right? They're explorations. They dig for what's really bothering someone, they ask for ideas, and that last one, wow, that one actually encourages them to step into the other person's shoes. These are the kinds of questions that make the listening triangle work. Okay, so you've just asked a fantastic open-ended question. What's next? Well, now we hit the next 2 points of the triangle, and they are completely connected: listening and reflecting. And this is where we really get into the difference between just hearing sounds and genuinely understanding someone. This right here, this is a game changer. So many of us, when we're in an argument, we're not really listening. We're just reloading. We're busy thinking up our comeback while the other person is talking. But real active listening, that means you put your own agenda on pause and you make it your mission to fully understand what they're trying to say. And this is how you prove that you were actually listening. Reflection is simply saying back to them what you heard, but in your own words. And notice the goal here. This is absolutely crucial. Your goal is not to agree or to argue or to prove them wrong. Your only goal is to show them, hey, I hear you. I'm really trying to get it. That one simple act can break the whole vicious cycle of misunderstanding. Now, reflection isn't just one thing. It's a skill, and like any skill, there are levels. You can get better and better at it. So let's look at 3 different levels of reflection, from the most basic to the one that's basically a superpower. So level 1 is what we call parroting, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're just repeating their main words right back to them. Now, it has its place if someone feels like you're just not hearing them at all. Sometimes repeating that key word shows them, okay, I got it. But it doesn't really move the conversation forward, Okay, level 2 is paraphrasing, and this is where we start to make some real progress. Here, you're not just repeating, you're restating what they said in your own words. Look at this example. You're capturing the emotion, that frustration, the feeling of not being trusted, And you're also using slightly more neutral language. This shows a much, much deeper level of understanding.
And then there's level 3, reframing. This really is the superpower. Now look very closely at this. A reframe doesn't just repeat the problem. It actually digs underneath the complaint to find the positive need, or what we call the interest, that's hidden there. So the complaint is, he's micromanaging me. The reframe becomes, okay, so meeting your deadlines is super important to you, and to do that, you need trust and autonomy. See that shift? It moves the focus from the problem to a potential solution. It's brilliant.
So, how do you get good at this? Well, you start by learning to hear that underlying need. You always try to focus on the present, not get dragged back into the past. You use neutral, positive language. And this one is huge. You separate the person from the problem. That way, it's not you versus them anymore. It becomes both of you versus the problem. All right, we've looked at all 3 points of the triangle: ask, listen, and reflect, along with our secret weapon, reframing. So now let's put all the pieces together and see how this thing really works as a powerful, continuous loop. And here it is, the engine of a truly constructive conversation. You ask a great open-ended question. You listen carefully for that positive need hidden under all the complaints. You then reframe that need back to them as a reframe. And then, and this is the part that keeps the engine running, you ask another question based on that reframe. Something like, okay, so trust is really important. What would that need to look like for you to feel trusted? And just like that, the cycle starts all over again, each time getting you closer to a solution. This is basically a cheat sheet for learning how to reframe. It's a great little tool. When you hear someone say, "That's not fair," what they're really saying is that the underlying interest for them is fairness. When they say they never listen, the deep need is to be heard. Learning how to do this mental translation in real time is the core skill here. It lets you turn a complaint into a shared goal you can actually work on together. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. Think about a conversation in your own life, maybe one you've been putting off, or one that just keeps going in circles and never gets resolved. What could change, maybe even today, if you walked into it not with the goal of winning, but with the simple goal of understanding? The listening triangle gives you the tools to find out.